Welcome to Sleepy Science, the place where the world slows down and the earth finally whispers back. Geology sounds simple, but the quiet truth under your feet is way stranger than most people ever hear. Rocks that glow in the dark, mountains that rise without a sound, rivers carving through stone like they're cutting butter, entire continents drifting like they're half asleep. And all of it happening right now while the world thinks nothing is moving. So just settle in, let your eyes get heavy, and let these soft, hidden facts pull you into that warm, quiet space in your mind. And hey, before you drift off, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss nights like this. The ground under your feet has been here longer than any story ever told. It's funny because we walk over it every day like it's nothing special, but deep down, the earth is always moving, always changing, always whispering these slow, calm secrets that most people never hear. When you think about it, that's kind of wild. Something so big, so old, and so quiet just sits there like it's minding its own business. But once you start paying attention, you notice the little things, the tiny shifts, the soft layers, the way the soil feels different after rain, the way rocks break but sand feels smooth. It's like the planet has its own slow heartbeat, and if you listen close enough, you catch it. We grow up thinking the earth is solid, still, simple. But nah, that's just the surface-level view. Underneath, there's this whole hidden world made of layers stacked like a giant cake. The crust is the top, thin, fragile, kind of like the skin on warm milk when it cools down. And under that, things get hotter, softer, more alive. Not alive like a person, but alive like a person, but alive like a person, but alive like heat, pressure, movement. The mantle slides around like thick syrup, slow, heavy, but never stopping. And the core? Man, the core is like a burning metal heart, glowing in the dark, beating in silence. Most people never think about that. They don't feel the heat rising from miles below or imagine how much weight sits under every step they take. Even the dirt you pick up outside has lived a life longer than anything you'll ever meet. Each grain took millions of years to get that small. Wind rubbed it, water rolled it, time stretched it thin, and now it sits there like it's nothing special, even though it's been on a journey longer than the entire human race. If you hold a rock in your hand, even a small one, you're holding something older than every mountain, every forest, every city, every dream. And that's not an exaggeration. Some rocks formed before the oceans even existed. Imagine that. A world with no waves, no beaches, no sound of water. Just heat, dust, and new land rising like a slow breath. It's kind of crazy to think the rock you kick on the sidewalk might be a survivor from that time. A tiny piece of Earth's first days chilling under your shoe like, yeah, I've been around. And the wild part? Rocks don't brag. They don't rush. They don't fall apart just because time wants them to. They just sit. They wait. That's the part that always feels calming to me. They're patient in a way humans can't be. They teach you to slow down without even saying a word. When life feels loud, you can just picture that rock sitting there for millions of years, looking at storms, fires, ice ages, animals, people, cities, and still staying exactly who it is. The soil is the same way. It looks like dust, dirt, just something to wipe off your shoes. But inside it, tiny pieces of old mountains rest next to ancient shells, next to broken crystals, next to the remains of forests that faded before humans even showed up. Every handful of soil is like a quiet museum. You don't see the stories unless you imagine them, but once you do, it hits different. You feel small in a good way, safe. Like the world is big enough to hold all your worries and still keep going. The planet moves slowly, but it's never still. The crust cracks sometimes. It stretches, it sinks, it rises again. Not fast, not loud, just steady. You don't notice it, but the ground is always shifting the tiniest bit. Mountains climb a little higher every year. Valleys drop a little deeper. Rivers cut new paths like they're drawing on the land with soft, steady lines. And even though it takes forever, the earth doesn't mind. It's got time, way more time than we'll ever touch. You can almost imagine the earth lying there like a giant sleeping animal breathing in long, slow waves. When rain falls, it slides into the soil like it's tucking itself in. When wind moves across a hill, it smooths the surface like a hand brushing hair. When the sun warms a cliff, the rock expands just a tiny bit, like it's stretching after a long nap. It's not alive, but man, sometimes it feels like it's got a personality. Even the layers inside Earth feel like chapters in a story. The outer layer is cool and calm. The layer under it is warmer, thicker, moving like slow honey. Then, deeper down, things glow. Metal shifts, heat rises. It's like you're getting closer to the heart of something ancient, something that's been beating quietly since the beginning of time. But it never rushes, never freaks out, never changes overnight. Everything happens in these long, gentle waves. And that, honestly, is one of the most relaxing parts of geology. The Earth is patient. It doesn't chase anything. It doesn't stress. It just exists, slow, steady, strong, holding memories in stone and dust, letting time shape it softly. And when you listen to those stories, even for a moment, your mind slows down too. You start breathing a little easier. Your thoughts unclench. You realize you don't need to rush either. The Earth waited billions of years to become what it is now. You can chill for a second. You're allowed. Even in the dark, cold parts underground where no light ever reaches, the Earth keeps shaping itself. Tiny crystals grow, minerals fold together, new patterns appear. No sound, no hurry, just calm building over time. That's the magic of it. That's the part that makes geology feel like a soft bedtime story. Everything changes, but slowly enough for your mind to drift with it. And right now, as you listen, the ground under you is doing its thing. Quietly, patiently, just like it always has. And you don't need to do anything. Just let the thoughts settle in your head and breathe. If you could roll time back, way back, before mountains, before oceans, before anything even looked like a planet, you'd find the Earth as nothing more than a quiet cloud of dust drifting in space, just floating there like soft smoke. No shape, no light, no sound, just tiny pieces of rock and metal hanging out in the dark. Kind of wild, right? Something as huge as Earth started out looking like a dusty little mess. But that's how planets begin, not with drama, not with noise, just a slow pull like everything is being guided by a steady hand you can't see. At first, those tiny bits were spread out far apart. They didn't know each other. But gravity has this way of bringing things together, almost like Earth was trying to build itself from scratch. One piece drifted closer, then another, then a few more, not fast, not crashing, more like little crumbs sticking together, piece by piece, grain by grain, and as more dust joined in, that small cloud grew heavier, thicker, warmer. You can picture it glowing faintly in the dark, just enough to look alive. Over time, rock chunks stuck together until the whole thing felt like a huge, soft ball of warm clay spinning slowly in space. Nothing fancy, nothing pretty, just a rough beginning. But even then, the Earth had this calm energy, like it knew it had all the time in the universe to figure itself out. It didn't rush. It didn't snap into place. It built itself the way nature always does, slow, patient, steady. And when it got heavy enough, the heat started rising from the inside. Not like fire, not like explosions, more like a deep, warm glow spreading through the whole ball. Lighter stuff floated to the top. Everything sorted itself out without making a sound. It's strange to imagine, but the early Earth was basically one big, calm lava ocean, a silent world of orange light and drifting molten waves. But even in that heat, things were settling. The heavier metal, mostly iron, sank deeper until it reached the center. Slowly, quietly, like it was finding its home. That metal center became the core, the heart of the planet. Hot, heavy, glowing, still beating heat even now. Above it, the mantle spread out like a thick blanket of soft rock, not solid, not liquid, something in between. It moved like slow taffy, shaping the young Earth's insides inch by inch. Then, after millions of years of this warm, glowing calm, the surface began to cool. The top layer hardened just a little, not fully solid, but solid enough to sit there without melting. That was the first crust. Thin, fragile, like the thin ice forming on a still lake in winter. It cracked sometimes, it broke, it melted again. But every time it cooled back down, it grew a little stronger, a little thicker, like the planet was taking its first deep breaths. If you were there back then, not that you would survive, but if you could watch from a safe distance, the Earth would look like a glowing ember wrapped in a thin shell. Heat flickering inside, storms of gas swirling around it, dust still falling onto its surface from space, sticking in soft layers. No oceans yet, no land, just a newborn world trying to get itself together. Slowly, the air started to change. Steam, gas, tiny bits of water vapor rose from the hot planet and drifted upward. They hung in the sky, cool enough now to form thick, heavy clouds. And for a long, long time, it rained. Not gentle rain, not storms, just endless falling water, soft and steady like the sky couldn't stop crying. Drop after drop cooling the planet, filling the first basins, making the first oceans. The water hissed as it touched the hot rock, but even that sound faded as the world cooled down. Soon the oceans spread across the surface like dark mirrors. Calm. Deep. Way different from today. No waves caused by wind yet, no beaches, just smooth water settling into the cracks of the world. Islands rose and sank again without anyone to see them. Continents weren't even an idea yet. But the Earth was learning how to breathe water and rock together like it was practicing for the planet we now live on. The crust thickened even more. It cracked into pieces. The pieces drifted apart, then bumped back together. Slow-motion movements that no one would ever notice unless they rewound time by millions of years. These drifting plates became the first steps toward the continents. Tiny at first, rough, bare, but slowly rising from the ocean like sleepy giants waking up. And while all this was happening, the mantle kept moving underneath, not rushing, just shifting enough to push rock upward here, slide it downward there, gently shaping the world like a potter's hands working clay on a slow wheel. The young Earth wasn't chaotic, it wasn't violent, it was just becoming, quietly, patiently, like every good thing that takes time. The atmosphere changed too. The thick clouds thinned, clearer skies formed. Sunlight finally reached the surface, warming the oceans in soft light. The planet's colors began to show: dark blue water, gray rock, hints of green minerals sparkling in the shallow light. The Earth was still young, still quiet. But it was starting to look like a real home. Every part of the planet had taken its place, the core glowing like a lantern buried deep inside. The mantle swirling like a heavy, slow river, the crust cooling enough to become the stage for everything that would come later. Water settling, air clearing, color spreading. It's almost peaceful to picture it, this long, quiet childhood of Earth that no one talks about. No noise, no rush, just a glowing ball of rock, slowly learning how to be a world. And when you imagine it, really imagine it, you feel something soft settle in your mind. Like the Earth isn't just a planet, it's a calm story. A warm, steady presence that's been here long before us, shaping itself in silence, and it's still shaping itself now. Minerals start in places most of us will never see, deep underground, far below the noise of life, down where the Earth feels slow and heavy and warm, down where everything takes its time. It all begins with tiny pieces of matter drifting around in the dark, nothing special at first, just lonely atoms floating like dust in still water. But down there, the pressure is steady, the heat is constant, and the space is so quiet that these atoms can finally settle, line up, and hold on to each other. They start forming shapes, little patterns, little frames. That's how a mineral takes its first breath, not loud, not bright, but soft and patient, almost like it's grown out of silence itself. Each mineral has its own way of building these tiny structures. Some grow in long, straight lines that stack on top of each other like the walls of a calm, perfect room. Others twist and lock together like soft puzzle pieces. These shapes become crystals. And the crazy part? No two minerals grow with the exact same pattern. Every one of them has its own style, its own rhythm, its own rules. That's why they look so different. It's like each mineral has a personality, but it speaks through shape instead of sound. Down in the dark, color forms slowly too, not painted on, not added later. Color comes from the way the crystal catches light, even if that light is faint or arrives millions of years later. When a crystal has iron inside it, the color leans toward red or gold. When it has copper, it drifts into greens and blues. Sometimes the atoms get a little mixed, a tiny change, a tiny impurity, and that one small shift can turn a plain mineral into something wild, something bright, something people pick up and stare at and say, "Wow," without even thinking. Textures appear just as slowly. Some minerals cool fast and become smooth, like glass that forgot how to shine. Others grow slow and long, building layers that feel soft even though they're solid rock. Some form rough corners that look like they were carved by tiny hands. Others stay rounded and calm, like they've been tumbled in a quiet river for thousands of years, even when they never touched water at all. These textures are not accidents. They're like frozen tracks of time, each bump, each ridge, each flat surface showing how the mineral grew, what it touched, what pressure it lived under. And pressure, that's where a lot of the magic happens. When pressure is mild, crystals grow wide and gentle, spreading out like they have all the room in the world. When pressure gets stronger, the shapes become tighter, sharper, more focused, notchin'. It's almost like the mineral becomes more serious, like it knows it has to hold itself together, and when pressure rises even more, some minerals change completely. They shift into new forms, they rearrange their atoms, they become something else without ever breaking apart. It's slow, but it's steady, and the mineral never hurries. It just changes when the earth tells it to. That's why the same element can create so many different minerals. Carbon can become soft black graphite, the stuff that leaves marks on paper. Or it can become a diamond, clear and sharp enough to cut glass. Same atoms, same building blocks, same ingredients. But one grows in gentle pressure, and the other forms under deep, intense weight. That quiet change is everything. It's like the earth whispers a different instruction each time, and the mineral listens. And then there are the rare ones, the minerals that grow only when the temperature is just right, or when water slips through tiny cracks in the rock, or when hot gases cool inside empty spaces deep underground. These crystals can take thousands of years to finish forming. Some take millions. And still, they don't rush, they don't push, they don't fight for space. They simply grow in silence until they're complete. People stare at these rare minerals like they're magic, but really, they're just the earth being patient. Every mineral you've ever held, a small pebble, a piece of quartz, a shiny crystal, even sand, started from atoms finding each other in the dark. All of them formed quietly. All of them grew without sound. All of them carry tiny stories locked inside their patterns. You can't hear those stories. You can't read them like a book. But they're there, stored in angles and color and shape. A mineral is like a memory. The Earth didn't want to forget. And what feels calming is that minerals don't change their pace. Not for heat, not for pressure, not for anything on the surface. They don't care about time the way we do. They move when they must. They pause when they must. They stay exactly the way they are until the Earth slowly reshapes them again. There's something gentle about that. Something steady. Something that makes you feel like the ground under you is always working, always building, always growing, even when it feels still. Minerals are tiny, but they're the base of everything solid on Earth. Every rock, every mountain, every grain of dust, every cliff, every beach. They're the small beginnings that support everything bigger. And they do all of it quietly, without any rush, without any noise, without needing anyone to notice. They're like the soft heartbeat of the planet, steady and slow. Rocks have their own quiet rhythm. They don't hurry, they don't rush, they don't fight the world around them. They just follow a slow cycle that goes on and on, almost like breathing. If you could sit still for 1,000,000 years, you'd see rocks live whole lives. They start, they change, they break, they melt, they rise again. And none of it happens with noise. It's all calm, steady, and patient. Some rocks begin as melted earth, thick, glowing, heavy liquid deep below the crust. That molten mix cools down slowly like soup left out on a cold night. When it cools deep within the earth, it forms igneous rock. The cooling is so slow and peaceful that the rock grows large, neat crystals inside it. Granite is one of those calm, deep-born rocks. It forms where no one can see it, where everything is warm and silent. When molten rock cools fast on the surface, the result is different. It hardens before crystals can grow. It becomes smooth and dark like basalt. Same beginning, different pace. That pace is everything. But rocks don't stay in one place forever. Wind touches them. Water slides over them, ice cracks them, sunlight warms and cools them again and again. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, just tiny changes stacked over huge amounts of time. A rock sits on a cliff for thousands of years, and little by little it breaks into pieces, then into grains, then into soft dust. These small bits drift away with water, wind, or gravity. They settle somewhere new, wind or gravity. Sometimes in a riverbed, sometimes on a beach, sometimes deep in a quiet lake. They stack layer by layer, all those tiny broken pieces resting on each other like sleepy blankets. That's where sedimentary rocks begin. Layers pressed down over years that stretch into centuries. The weight becomes stronger. The spaces between grains get tighter. Water seeps through those gaps and leaves behind minerals that glue everything together. No rush, just simple pressure, working slowly. Over time, those loose grains turn solid again. Sand becomes sandstone, mud becomes shale, shells and tiny sea creatures become limestone. Every layer is a memory, holding quiet pieces of the past. If igneous rocks are born from fire, sedimentary rocks are born from time. But the earth keeps shifting, even when we don't feel it. Plates push, mountains rise. Deep forces press into old rocks. When pressure and heat meet a rock that was once stable, something new starts to happen. The minerals inside it begin to line up in new patterns. The rock doesn't melt, not fully. It just rearranges itself, bit by bit, slowly, carefully. This is where metamorphic rocks form. Rocks that long ago were igneous or sedimentary, now changed by deep heat and quiet pressure. Slate comes from shale. Marble comes from limestone. Gneiss comes from granite. Each one still holds the bones of the rock it used to be, but with a brand new look, like it grew up and settled into a calmer shape. What makes all this feel gentle is how patient the process is. A rock can spend millions of years cooling, then millions more breaking down, then millions more being pressed into a new rock, then millions more shifting in the Earth's crust until heat transforms it again. And the cycle doesn't end. A metamorphic rock can rise to the surface. Rain can break it into pieces. Those pieces can drift to the sea. They can settle. They can harden. They can become sedimentary rock. And later, heat can change them once more. It's like the earth is always guiding them from one slow chapter to the next. Time moves like a quiet tide in geology. Slow in a way the human mind can't really feel. A mountain can rise so slowly that you'd never notice, even if you stared at it your entire life. A cliff can crumble grain by grain and still look the same for centuries. A rock can change its form without ever rushing. Rocks aren't stuck. They're always moving through stages, just at a pace that feels almost peaceful. And what makes this cycle comforting is that it never stops. Rocks become new rocks. Landscapes change shape. Old cliffs turn into beaches. Beaches turn into stone again. Volcanoes build islands that one day fall back into the sea. Nothing is wasted. Nothing disappears for good. It all just shifts into a new form when the earth is ready. Igneous rocks are the earth when it is young and hot. Sedimentary rocks are the earth's memories settling into layers. Metamorphic rocks are the earth reshaping those memories into something new. Together they make a cycle that doesn't need sound or speed or attention. A cycle that's been running long before humans came around. A cycle that will keep going long after. There's something calming about knowing the ground under you is always changing, but never in a hurry. Rocks teach patience in their own quiet way. They show that transformation doesn't need force. Just time, just pressure, just the slow, steady flow of the earth doing what it always does. Continents move so slowly that the earth almost feels alive in the quietest way. Like something big is breathing under your feet, not fast, not loud, just a long, slow inhale that takes millions of years, and an even slower exhale. Plate tectonics is the name we give this motion, but the motion itself feels more like a dream. The whole planet shifting bit by bit, never stopping, never fully waking up, just drifting. The surface of the earth looks solid, but it's not one single piece. It's broken into huge plates, some big as oceans, some small as islands, and every plate floats on top of the soft, warm layer underneath called the mantle. Not liquid, not solid, something in between, something thick and heavy that moves so slowly you'd never see it, but it moves enough to push the plates around, like giant rafts drifting on a glowing sea. Think of each continent like a huge, sleepy beast. Calm, slow, heavy, stretching across the earth with no rush at all. South America leans to the west. Africa leans east. North America slides away from Europe like it's rolling over in its sleep. Australia drifts north so quietly that the only way we know is because satellites track it inch by inch. Even that inch takes a whole year. That's how peaceful the motion is. The plates don't glide smoothly. They touch along their edges. They push. They pull. They slip. They grind. But even that grinding is not fast or sharp. It's more like deep pressure building over long stretches of time. Sometimes the pressure snaps all at once and becomes an earthquake, but the rest of the time it's gentle and steady, like two giant creatures pressing their shoulders together as they shift in the dark. Some boundaries pull apart. In these places, the plates are drifting away from each other. It's not violent. It's slow, like bread dough stretching apart. Deep under the ocean, there are long cracks where new rock rises up from the mantle. It cools. It becomes solid. It pushes the sea floor wider. These ridges make underwater mountains that go on for thousands of miles. They are the longest mountain chains on Earth, but almost no one ever sees them. They rise in total silence, in total darkness, while the ocean drifts above them. When plates slide past each other, they move like two giant animals brushing sides. They don't want to let go. They hold on for years. The pressure builds, and then, in one moment, they slip. But even then, the motion that caused it was slow. calm, patient. Earthquakes feel fast to us because we live fast. But the plates themselves, they barely move. They're like massive creatures half asleep, turning over once every few centuries. When plates push into each other, the story gets even deeper. One plate might slide under the other, sinking into the mantle. That process is called subduction. It sounds dramatic, but it happens so slowly that the plate could slide hundreds of miles before anyone even knows. That sinking plate melts again, becomes part of the mantle, and sometimes the heat and pressure push magma back up, building volcanoes. Volcanoes look intense to us, but from the Earth's point of view, they're just part of a long, slow cycle. Melt, rise, cool, repeat. Continents also crash into each other. You'd think something that huge hitting something else that huge would be loud or sudden, but continents move too slowly for that. When they collide, they push upward over millions of years. That's how mountains form. The Himalayas rose because India drifted north and bumped into Asia. Not fast, not violent, just steady pressure over ages. Even today, those mountains are still rising, maybe an inch a year, maybe less. But they rise like the earth is lifting its shoulders in a long, deep stretch. Sometimes the plates tear apart a continent. A small crack forms. It widens year by year. Rivers fill the space. Lakes form. The land keeps stretching. And after millions of years, an ocean appears where land once was. The Atlantic Ocean began as a small tear, a small rift, a small yawn in the Earth's crust. And now it's one of the biggest oceans on the planet. But to the Earth, it all happened with the same calm, sleepy pace. Even the shapes of the continents tell the story. South America fits against Africa like old puzzle pieces that drifted apart. India used to be part of the southern supercontinent and then slowly broke away, drifting north for millions of years until it stuck against Asia. Australia is making its way toward Southeast Asia right now, inch by inch by inch. These motions feel almost like a slow dance, a dance that takes millions of years for one single step. What feels relaxing about plate tectonics is how steady it all is. Humans rush through days. We worry about hours. The Earth worries about millions of years. The continents drift at the same pace they always have. They never ask for more speed. They never slow down. They stay in motion, even when no one is watching. They're like massive sleepers, shifting in dreams that last longer than human history. The ridges at the bottom of the ocean spread like soft lines being drawn on a map. The cracks in continents widen slowly. The mountains rise with quiet force. The deep trenches mark places where plates sink into the mantle. Everything has a rhythm. Everything moves in long waves of time. And when you think about it, plate tectonics is the heartbeat of the whole planet. It builds mountains, shapes oceans, changes climates, raises islands from nothing, and it does all of it without ever rushing. The world beneath you is never still, but it is always calm, always steady, always drifting in a way that makes the earth feel alive but peaceful. So when you stand on the ground, it's easy to forget you're riding on one of these giant drifting plates. It feels fixed, solid. But underneath, everything is moving, slowly, quietly, like the planet is breathing just once every few million years. Volcanoes are the quiet artists of the Earth. They don't always roar. Sometimes they move in whispers, shaping landscapes with soft patience. Magma rises through the crust like warm honey, slowly seeping upward. No hurry, no rush, just a steady push from deep below. Sometimes it pools beneath the surface for years, forming hidden chambers. No one sees it, but it waits, gathering heat and weight, ready to create something new. When lava finally reaches the surface, it flows like a gentle river of fire. Not fast, not violent. It creeps, not violent. It creeps, spreads, fills valleys and hollows, slowly cooling layer by layer. Each layer leaves its mark. Each layer tells a story of heat and movement. The molten rock loses its glow, turns dark, turns solid, and in that quiet solidification, the land is remade. Hills rise, plateaus extend, islands emerge from the sea, one quiet drop at a time. Volcanic activity is not just fire and ash, it's also the slow crafting of soil. Lava breaks down over years, mixing with rain, wind, and tiny organisms. The black hardened rock slowly transforms into fertile ground. Fields of crops bloom centuries later, unaware of the fire that came before. The same quiet magma that carved mountains feeds life even as it sleeps under the surface. Fertility and destruction are intertwined, but the destruction is never loud in this story. It's soft, patient, calm. Some volcanoes form underwater. There, lava meets cold water, steaming softly. It cools quickly, forming strange, smooth shapes. Pillow lava, scientists call it. Rounded lumps stacked together like giant stones in a quiet sculpture garden. Islands can begin this way, rising inch by inch from the ocean. At first, just dark shadows below the waves. But over thousands of years, the island grows, breaks the surface, and becomes home to birds, plants, and eventually humans. The process is slow, gentle, but unstoppable. Even the shapes of volcanoes tell a story. Some rise as perfect cones, symmetrical and elegant. Others are wide, flattened domes. Each shape is the result of magma moving in its own rhythm. Thick magma makes slow domes. Thin magma makes rivers of lava that reach far distances. The earth is an artist with many brushes, some smooth, some rough. Each volcano adds a line to the canvas, a quiet mart that will last for millennia. Not in bursts that scare us, but in soft, invisible clouds. Carbon dioxide, water vapor, tiny amounts of other minerals. These gases escape quietly, like sighs of the planet. They mix with the atmosphere, feeding cycles we barely notice. Clouds form, rain falls, rivers carve valleys in softened rocks. Life follows the gentle chemistry of volcanic breath. Even in calm moments, volcanoes affect everything around them. Magma chambers below the surface are like hidden lakes of warmth. They move slowly, pressing against surrounding rock. Sometimes they pool for centuries, reshaping underground chambers. Sometimes they seep into cracks, pushing the Earth's surface upward. These invisible movements build domes, small hills, or even large plateaus. From above, it looks like nothing has changed, but beneath the soil, the land is quietly shifting, building, breathing. Lava flows can also create tunnels, called lava tubes. When the top of a lava stream cools while the bottom keeps moving, the molten rock drains away, leaving hollow passageways. Some stretch for miles, like quiet cathedrals underground. Stalactites of cooled lava hang from the ceiling. Shadows linger in every corner. Tiny creatures find shelter in the quiet tubes. The tubes are evidence of movement that happened slowly, invisibly, before anyone noticed. Volcanoes even shape coasts and oceans. Islands rise slowly from the water, forming cliffs and beaches. Lava entering the sea hisses and steams, creating new land that will later be smooth and fertile. In some places, chains of islands form over millions of years, each one marking the path of magma under the earth. The Pacific Ocean is full of these volcanic highways. One island after another, built quietly, slowly, without hurry. Some volcanoes seem to sleep for centuries. They may appear lifeless, covered in grass and forests, but deep underground, magma may still stir. The earth doesn't forget. It moves quietly, shaping the future of the land. A quiet rumble too soft to hear, a small change in the crust, invisible to human eyes. Then, sometimes, the surface begins to shift. A mountain swells, a new vent opens. The Earth is patient, but it never stops. Even extinct volcanoes tell stories. They stand like ancient guardians. Their slopes and ridges carry the memory of fire and molten rock. Rivers carve deep channels into their sides. Forests grow where lava once flowed. Birds nest in crags that hardened millions of years ago. Each extinct volcano is a monument to slow, steady creation, proof that even when the fire fades, its work remains. Volcanic landscapes are also full of water. Lakes often form in craters, holding rainwater that collects over centuries. These lakes reflect the sky and the mountains around them. Steam may rise gently on cold mornings. The water slowly erodes the edges of the crater, softening the harsh shapes of hardened lava. Life gathers here: insects, fish, birds, and plants. Even in silence, the volcano supports ecosystems that thrive without hurry. Volcanoes shape life itself. Soils from eruptions are rich with minerals. Forests grow. Animals follow the land's new shapes. Rivers carve new paths. Life moves at its own pace, reacting to the slow motion of molten rock. Every eruption, every lava flow, every cooled mound of rock affects the environment for generations. But the process is gentle, not urgent. It's a quiet story of creation written in stone. Even the sounds around volcanoes can be soft. Wind brushing over hardened lava, birds settling in crags, water dripping into small pools in cooled lava, steam rising from vents. Nothing harsh, nothing sudden, just the earth breathing in its long, slow way. Volcanoes are more than fire. They are the slow shaping of the land, the quiet lifting of life from molten beginnings. Islands born of volcanoes eventually host forests, rivers, and wildlife. Each drop of lava, each soft plume of gas, has built the stage for life to take root. And yet, no one rushes the process. The Earth moves in patience. Millions of years can pass before humans walk there, but the work continues unseen. Lava that cooled long ago may still warm the ground far below. The planet's energy never stops, but it flows gently like a slow river under a forest floor. When you think about volcanoes this way, they feel less like danger and more like calm creators. Magma rising, lava cooling, islands forming, mountains sculpted, soil enriched, life encouraged, all in silence. All in time frames far beyond human worries. The Earth's hand moves slowly, patiently, creating shapes and forms that outlast everything we know. Volcanoes are the quiet heartbeat of the land, not a rush, not a flash, but the long, patient shaping of the surface. Every hardened lava flow, every soft plume of gas, every mountain slope, every crater lake. Each is a note in the Earth's gentle song, a melody of creation unfolding over millions of years. And even when the fire seems gone, the Earth remembers. The work continues. Slow, silent, eternal. Earthquakes are like the soft sighs of the planet. Not all at once, not all loud. Often they begin quietly, deep underground, where rock bends and shifts beneath pressure. The Earth stores energy, like a stretched spring waiting for a gentle release. You wouldn't notice it at first. The rocks around it slowly adjust, tiny cracks forming, almost invisible. It is a patient process. Millions of years of pressure can gather before the Earth finally moves. Sometimes stress builds along faults. Faults are the invisible seams in the crust where the rock has a natural weakness. Plates pressed together, slide past, or pull away. The pressure is immense, but it accumulates gradually over decades, centuries, or even millennia. You can think of it as the Earth stretching before it yawns. The movement is inevitable, but quiet at first. Only after enough energy gathers does the planet let go, releasing a pulse that travels like ripples across a pond. The release of energy creates seismic waves. These waves move outward in all directions. They carry the Earth's memory of pressure and heat. Some waves are fast, sharp, and brief. Others are slow, deep, and rolling. Surface waves move like gentle ocean swells, rocking everything in their path. They curve, bend, and shift the land, but in a way that the planet itself understands, a rhythm it has repeated countless times. Even the shaking can be seen as part of the slow heartbeat of the Earth. Earthquakes don't always happen where we expect. They can be deep, where the crust is thick and heavy, or they can be shallow, barely under the surface. Deep quakes feel like subtle tremors, almost imperceptible, as if the ground itself is breathing beneath your feet. Shallow quakes are stronger, more noticeable, but still part of the same slow story. Each one is a page in the quiet diary of the Earth's movement, written in stone. Rocks bend before they break. It's not a sudden snap. Deep below, minerals flex under pressure. Layers of stone compress, stretch, and fold. The bending stores energy like a coiled spring. Then, when the pressure overcomes the rock's strength, it breaks and shifts. That is the earthquake. But even then, the motion is more of a pulse than a scream. Energy radiates through the planet, moving the crust in waves, reminding us that the Earth is alive, patient, and constantly adjusting. Seismic waves have different personalities. Primary waves, or P waves, are the fastest. They move through rock and water, compressing and expanding the material like gentle breaths. Secondary waves, S waves, move slower. They twist the rock from side to side. Together they tell a story of motion, a choreography of energy traveling invisibly beneath our feet. Surface waves follow last, rolling and rocking like a soft tide brushing across the land. Each type carries information about the Earth's hidden movement, quietly, without urgency. Earthquakes also remind us of the slow accumulation of stress across regions. Plates don't move all at once. They shift millimeters a year, almost unnoticeably. That tiny drift builds over time, compressing rocks until the moment comes for them to snap. It's a process we can measure but rarely feel until the energy is released. Even when a quake ends, the Earth does not stop. Aftershocks follow like echoes of a soft voice fading in the distance. Some earthquakes are so small, humans can't feel them. Yet, instruments record them clearly. They are the whispering steps of the planet as it moves slowly beneath the surface. Larger quakes carry the same story, just louder. They remind us that energy is always cycling. Rocks are bending, pressure is building. Then, with a soft release, the crust adjusts again. Life on the surface continues, often unaware of the quiet shaping happening below. Faults can be gentle or complex. Some are simple cracks. Others are tangled networks of fractures, bending, twisting, and overlapping. Stress travels differently through each. It pools in hidden corners, moves along layers, or spreads across wide areas. Scientists study these patterns to understand where energy might eventually be released. But the Earth does not rush. It works on its own time, patient, slow, and continuous. In some places, earthquakes help create the land itself. Mountains grow over millions of years, uplifted by slow shifts along faults. Valleys deepen as land subsides. Rivers find new paths, shaped by subtle tilts and tilts from seismic activity. The process is invisible day to day. But over centuries, the quiet pulses of the Earth leave a mark, sculpting landscapes with patience only stone can achieve. Seismic waves can also travel through water. Tsunamis are one result, though they are rare. Even these are part of the same gentle story. A shift beneath the ocean displaces water. The movement spreads outward in waves. They travel far, carrying the energy of the quake. When they reach land, they interact with the coastline, shaping beaches and estuaries over long time frames. Like all natural events, even dramatic ones are part of the Earth's long, patient rhythm. Deep earthquakes occur where rocks are warmer and more pliable. Pressure builds slowly, but so does movement. Instead of sharp cracks, the rock may flow like soft clay. This slow flow can release energy over longer periods, creating low-frequency waves that roll through the Earth gently. Life at the surface may barely notice, yet the movement continues beneath, a constant reshaping of the planet's interior. Even in areas we think are quiet, stress accumulates. Every inch of rock bears weight. Every layer presses on the next. Plate boundaries may seem far away, but energy travels through solid rock. Microquakes happen constantly, a soft whisper of adjustment. These tiny events prevent stress from building to truly dangerous levels in some regions. Faults can store energy for centuries, sometimes longer. One day it releases. Sometimes it is mild, a gentle shake that rattles dishes but does no harm. Other times it is stronger. But in every case the process is the same. Energy built slowly, then released in waves. Afterward, the land settles, tremors fade, and again the earth begins accumulating energy for the next soft sigh. We can even listen to earthquakes today with special instruments. Seismometers pick up vibrations we cannot feel. They translate the Earth's pulse into patterns we can study. We can see the rhythm, the soft rise and fall of pressure, the gentle travel of waves. It is like reading the heartbeat of the planet. And in that reading, we realize the Earth is patient. It moves slowly, but always in motion. Earthquakes are reminders that the ground beneath our feet is alive, not loud or harsh in their quietest forms, but persistent. Plates drift, rocks bend, energy flows, and over centuries these movements shaped mountains, valleys, rivers, and coastlines. Life above adapts, plants and animals responding to shifts in subtle ways. Human structures endure or adapt. Everything participates in the slow rhythm. The story of earthquakes is a story of balance. Pressure builds, energy is released, rocks adjust, life continues. Each tremor is both a reminder and a gift. It shows that the earth is working, moving, creating. Even in its quietest moments, it is alive. Every fault, every tremor, every wave is part of the ongoing pulse of the planet. Even after the shaking stops, the earth remembers. Layers of rock may shift, new cracks form, old ones close. Energy travels through stone in ways humans rarely see. Life resumes its pace above. Rivers return to their channels. Forests sway gently in the wind. Mountains continue to rise, valleys deepen. It's all part of the same slow story. The calm beauty of earthquakes lies in their rhythm. Energy moves through the crust. Rocks bend, stretch, and finally release. The pulse travels outward. The earth adjusts. And then, like a sigh, all is still again. The process repeats, quietly, endlessly, patiently. And in that quiet, we can imagine the heartbeat of a planet that has lived for billions of years, never rushing, never resting completely, always in motion. Mountains are the slowest poems the earth ever wrote. They don't rush, they don't shout. They begin deep underground where pressure folds layers of rock like soft blankets pushed together over millions of years. Plates press, crust compresses, and slowly, inch by inch, the land begins to rise. A fold here, a lift there, and a ridge forms. Over time, small rises grow taller. Peaks pierce the sky. Valleys sink gently between them. It's all quiet, a patient sculpting by forces invisible to the eye. Imagine standing on a ridge at night. The world is dark. Stars glitter far above. The wind brushes your face. Below, the slopes stretch endlessly. Every ridge, every curve is a record of time. You feel the earth breathe beneath you, slow and steady. Mountains grow like slow waves frozen in stone. They record the memory of pressure, heat, and uplift, holding it for anyone willing to notice. Some mountains are born from collisions. Two plates press together and the crust folds. Layers buckle, creating ripples in stone that rise higher with each push. Sometimes the rock cracks along faults, pieces sliding, tilting, and stacking. The process is gradual, almost imperceptible. Millions of years pass before a peak becomes visible above the horizon. Even erosion, which seems destructive, is gentle. Water, wind, and ice wear away the surface, carving shapes slowly, smoothing edges, creating the elegant curves of valleys and cliffs. Erosion is like the earth breathing softly. Rivers trickle down slopes, carving channels over centuries. Rainwater seeps into cracks, expanding them imperceptibly. Glaciers creep along mountainsides, grinding stone beneath them, leaving behind polished surfaces and striated marks. Over eons, these forces sculpt landscapes that seem deliberate, as if the planet is an artist shaping clay with patience and care. Every mountain peak, every ridge is a collaboration between uplift and erosion, rise and wear, growth and quiet decay. Some peaks hide secrets deep inside. Hot rocks, molten pockets, and minerals move slowly beneath the surface, shaping the crust from within. Over time, these flows influence the way mountains fold and rise. Not every shift is dramatic. Most occur silently, in a way only measurable with precise instruments. The Earth's pulse is constant. Each fold and fracture tells a story of pressure and resilience, of stone learning to bend instead of break. High mountains catch clouds, moisture collects, drifting over slopes, feeding rivers that trace the paths of glaciers long gone. Water moves sediment carefully, carrying tiny grains to valleys below. Each grain is a piece of mountain history. Rivers trace old faults and folds, leaving trails of sediment that record the rhythm of uplift and erosion. Standing on a ridge, you feel this invisible history under your feet, the weight of millions of years in each step. Some mountains are volcanic, rising drop by drop. Magma seeps slowly, cooling layer by layer, forming ridges and peaks. Lava flows harden quietly. Ash settles in thin blankets over slopes, adding weight and height. Even dormant volcanoes remember their activity. They are the gentle storytellers of heat, pressure, and chemistry deep inside the planet. Over centuries, streams carve channels through hardened flows, creating valleys that trace the slow passage of time. Folded mountains have a rhythm all their own. Each ridge, each fold, is a line of tension released slowly. Rock layers stacked like pages in a book. Some layers bend without breaking, while others fracture, creating cliffs and escarpments. The process takes patience. A human lifetime is barely a blink. But the mountains endure. Peaks rise higher, valleys deepen, and the planet quietly records the passage of millennia. Imagine standing in a quiet valley at dawn. Mist rolls over slopes, the air is crisp. Every hill and ridge is a memory of pressure, folding, and uplift. Every stream is a slow artist carving the land. The earth does not hurry. It does not force. It moves in soft rhythms, shaping stone into mountains, sculpting them over spans of time we cannot fully grasp. You can feel the slow pulse of the planet beneath your feet. Mountains also protect life. They capture rainfall, directing water into rivers and lakes. They shelter forests and meadows. Valleys become nurseries for plants and animals. Even the smallest streams carry minerals that fertilize the land. Peaks may seem barren at first glance, but every ridge is part of a vast system that sustains ecosystems across continents. Mountains are alive in this sense, quietly feeding life while holding the memory of the forces that built them. The surfaces of mountains tell stories too. Jagged peaks record places where rock resisted erosion. Rounded hills show where wind, ice, and water slowly wore down the crust. Every curve is a trace of history. Each cliff face displays layers stacked over eons, a geological diary. You can imagine the pressure that created each fold, the heat that softened stone just enough to bend, and the slow rise of the land over millions of years. Even earthquakes play a role in shaping mountains. Small tremors can shift slopes, nudge rock layers, and create new cracks. Over long periods, this activity influences how peaks grow, how ridges tilt, and how valleys deepen. The movements are slow and steady, almost like the breathing of a giant invisible being. The Earth adjusts in quiet ways, leaving the surface to tell the story of internal forces. Mountains can wear themselves down. Erosion never stops. Rain, ice, snow, and wind continuously chip at peaks. Valleys widen, soil moves downhill, rocks break apart slowly. Yet, as one part fades, another rises. Uplift continues beneath the surface. The cycle repeats endlessly, a balance between rise and wear, growth and erosion. Mountains are patient, enduring, and ever-changing, but their change is quiet. Some mountain ranges are older than anything humans have witnessed. They have survived ice ages, climate shifts, and tectonic changes. The Alps, the Appalachians, the Himalayas, each tells a story written in stone. Standing on one, you can almost sense the time it took to rise. The folds of the crust, the tilts of the layers, and the polish of eroded rock are all whispers of ancient earth, recorded in shape and texture. Imagine the night falling on a mountain ridge. Stars begin to appear. The wind flows over peaks. Snow glistens faintly in moonlight. All around, valleys and slopes hold the memory of pressure, uplift, and erosion. The mountains breathe slowly. You feel the calm patience of the planet. There is no rush. Time itself seems to stretch, moving as slowly as the rocks beneath your feet. Even the smallest ridges tell a story. Pebbles at your feet, shaped by wind and water, record countless days of erosion. Tiny fractures in cliffs show pressure long released. Rivers trace ancient folds in the crust, moving sediment from one place to another. Each detail, no matter how small, is part of the quiet process of mountain building and shaping. The planet is always at work, even when we cannot see it. Mountains are like slow, living sculptures. Pressure folds, rocks uplift, rivers carve, ice polishes, wind smooths. Every feature is the result of a long, patient process that no human can fully witness. Yet, standing there, you can feel the passage of time. The mountains remind us of Earth's rhythm, its quiet power, and its enduring patience. They are the planet breathing, slowly, steadily, and endlessly. Erosion is the soft whisper of time. It doesn't hurry. It moves slowly, steadily, like a hand smoothing rough stone over centuries. Wind brushes cliffs, picking up tiny grains and carrying them away. Each grain is a memory of rock, lifted, floated, and eventually dropped somewhere new. Water flows over hills, cutting small channels at first. Centuries pass, and those channels deepen into valleys. Rivers carve the land so quietly that a single lifetime barely notices, yet over millennia, the effect is immense. Rain falls gently or in storms, seeping into cracks. Water expands when it freezes, slowly widening fissures in stone. This freeze-thaw rhythm repeats year after year. Each cycle chips a little rock, loosening tiny fragments. The process is patient, quiet, relentless. Even the smallest pebble carries the history of countless winters and springs. Mountains lose their edges. Hills soften. Valleys widen. Erosion never stops, but it never rushes either. Wind shapes sand dunes in deserts. Tiny particles dance across the surface, lifted by gusts and dropped when the air calms. Over years, dunes creep across the land like waves frozen in motion. Each ripple is a quiet sculpture, formed by a force we cannot see but can feel in the shifting sands. Erosion by wind is invisible most of the time, yet it leaves fingerprints on cliffs, rocks, and plains. Smooth surfaces, sharp ridges, and sculpted stones all tell a story of wind patiently reshaping the land. Ice moves slowly, too. Glaciers are massive rivers of frozen water, creeping downhill inch by inch. They scrape rock, polish surfaces, and leave grooves and striations behind. Glacial valleys are U-shaped, carved by pressure and time, smooth but deep. The ice carries boulders like a giant hand, dropping them far from their origin. Moraine ridges mark paths of retreating glaciers, evidence of movement measured in millennia. Even when glaciers vanish, their work remains, a permanent trace of slow, quiet power. Rivers are artists in a different rhythm. They don't sculpt instantly. They meander, twist, and turn. Their banks erode slowly, sediment is carried downstream, and deltas grow grain by grain. Sandbars shift over decades, mud builds islands, and estuaries expand quietly. Water doesn't scream, it murmurs, but it leaves behind landscapes that change the map. Every bend in a river tells a story of persistence, of gentle, ongoing motion that shapes everything in its path. Weathering works in harmony with erosion. Chemical reactions slowly break down rock. Acid from rainwater interacts with minerals, softening stone. Moss and lichen cling to surfaces, their tiny growth breaking stone apart over years. Roots push into cracks, expanding them gently. Each fragment of rock eventually becomes soil. Soil that feeds forests, grasslands, and deserts alike. Weathering is patience itself, a quiet reminder that even the hardest rock eventually yields to the smallest forces. Coastlines shift with tides and waves. Waves hit cliffs, wearing them down slowly. Sand moves along beaches in long arcs, reshaping shores over decades. Storms may speed the process, but even without storms, the ocean reshapes itself continuously. Cliffs retreat, beaches grow, and sandbars drift. Over centuries, islands can change shape entirely. The rhythm is quiet but constant. Every wave, every ebb, carries energy that transforms rock into sand and sand into new landscapes. Even mountains feel the touch of erosion. High peaks lose their sharp edges, valleys deepen, rock fragments tumble down slopes, forming scree fields. Snow melts, rain falls, rivers carve channels, and glaciers polish surfaces. The land slowly softens, but the mountains endure. They grow older gracefully, showing the passage of time not in sudden upheaval, but in gentle wearing, a quiet aging that takes millions of years. Deserts tell their own story. Sandstorms lift tiny particles, painting dunes with ridges and curves. Rocks that once had rough faces become smooth. Stone arches form from the patient wear of wind and sand. Dry rivers carry sediment only during rare rains, depositing layers that shift slowly. Desert erosion is subtle yet beautiful, a dance of dust and stone that continues unseen day after day. Forests participate too. Trees slow down erosion by holding soil with roots. Fallen leaves and decomposing matter add layers of protection, but rivers and winds still move sediment. Soil shifts down slopes in tiny steps. Over centuries, valleys become deeper, plains expand, and the landscape changes quietly. Life and erosion are partners, each shaping the land in slow motion. Even rocks in cities remember erosion. Pavement cracks, stone walls crumble, and old bricks wear down under rain, wind, and temperature changes. Everything, even human-made structures, eventually falls into nature's rhythm. Time moves in tiny increments, and erosion patiently claims every surface. Lakes change too. Water wears the edges of basins, moving sediment from shorelines to deeper parts. Shorelines shift subtly with each season. Over decades, what was once shallow may become deep. Sediment layers preserve history, telling scientists how the land and water have evolved. Even quiet lakes are active landscapes, recording the slow, steady touch of time. Volcanic landscapes aren't exempt. Lava flows cool and harden, then gradually wear down. Ash deposits settle, forming gentle slopes that rivers and wind slowly sculpt. Erosion softens jagged rocks, turning sharp edges into rounded hills. Even the land, born from fire, eventually succumbs to the quiet rhythm of wind, water, and ice. Canyons tell dramatic stories in a calm voice. The Colorado carved the Grand Canyon not in moments, but in patience. The river cut downward inch by inch, exposing layers that had been stacked for millions of years. Each stratum is a page of history. From above, the canyon looks vast and permanent, but it was built quietly, patiently, like an artist painting with time itself. Sediment transport is part of this quiet motion. Rivers carry silt and sand from mountains to oceans. Each grain travels slowly, settling only when the current eases. Deltas grow, beaches expand, sediments settle in layers, building landforms that may last for thousands of years. The movement is so gradual that it's almost imperceptible. But over centuries, the world shifts, grain by grain, like a slow-motion puzzle rearranging itself. Even wind-carved canyons are subtle. Soft rock yields easily. Hard rock resists. The contrast creates arches, spires, and pillars. Dust and sand polish the surfaces. Each feature is the result of countless years of erosion, moving silently but persistently. No sound, no rush, just the patient shaping of stone. Look around any natural landscape. Hills, valleys, cliffs, and plains, all of it is the work of erosion. Time moves slowly, but it never stops. Wind, water, and ice sculpt the world with care. The land changes, imperceptibly day by day, yet profoundly over eons. Rocks crumble, sediment shifts, soil forms, mountains soften, valleys widen, rivers meander, beaches drift. Everything flows at its own quiet pace. Erosion is nature's slow-motion art. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't race. It leaves a lasting mark through patience. It doesn't race. It leaves a lasting mark through patience. Each grain of sand, each pebble, each fragment of soil carries the memory of what once was. Mountains, cliffs, deserts, rivers, and coasts all tell stories written quietly over time. Standing somewhere, you can feel the rhythm if you listen. The world is always moving, always shaping itself, in ways too slow to notice but impossible to ignore. Even as you breathe, the land shifts. Stones crumble, rivers carry sediment, wind dances with dust, glaciers creep, landscapes fade and reform. Every horizon is slightly different than it was yesterday, though it might not be obvious. Over centuries, the changes are monumental. Over millennia, they are monumental beyond comprehension. Erosion reminds us that even the strongest rock will eventually yield. Quiet, patient, unstoppable. That is the art of the earth. It shapes, softens, and sculpts. It creates valleys, carves canyons, smooths cliffs, and forms dunes. Erosion moves at its own pace, like a whisper you can feel rather than hear. The landscapes around you are alive in this way, slowly transforming, constantly remembering, silently telling the story of time. Fossils are whispers from the past. They don't shout. They lie quietly in rock layers, waiting to be noticed. Each one is a tiny time capsule, a soft memory of life long gone. Imagine a leaf pressed in shale, its veins frozen in stone. Or a shell, its spiral preserved perfectly, even though the animal inside has long vanished. Fossils don't hurry. They rest for millions of years, a silent record of who lived here, what the land looked like, and how life changed. Sedimentary rocks are the keepers of these stories. They form slowly, layer by layer, like pages in a diary. Sand, mud, silt, and clay settle gently in rivers, lakes, and oceans. Over time, these layers harden, trapping shells, bones, and plant fragments. Each layer holds a snapshot of a moment, a quiet record of Earth's life. Scientists call these layers strata. Strata are like chapters in a story that stretches across millions of years. The deeper the layer, the older the memory it holds. Paleontologists read these pages carefully. They brush away dirt, chip rock gently, and reveal fossils with patience. They notice shapes, sizes, and textures, tiny teeth, delicate fronds, the curve of a shell. Each tells a story about how the organism lived. Was it slow or fast? Did it swim or crawl? Fossils answer quietly, without noise, but with astonishing detail. Some even show behavior. The ground beneath it became a frozen record, a snapshot from a day millions of years ago. Some fossils are larger than life. Imagine giant ferns in carboniferous swamps, their leaves reaching across layers of mud. Or the bones of dinosaurs lying in a sandstone bed, teeth and claws exposed after careful excavation. These fossils tell of ecosystems long vanished, forests, deserts, rivers, and oceans, all preserved in rock like a memory in slow motion. Even when continents drifted, climate changed, or oceans rose and fell, these fossils stayed. They are patience made solid. Fossils aren't only bones and leaves, they include impressions, burrows, and even traces of movement. Worms tunneling in mud, fish swimming near the surface, insects landing on plants. Every trace is a quiet record of activity, captured and preserved in stone. Some rocks even hold microscopic fossils, tiny plankton and algae that float in ancient seas. Looking at them under a microscope is like peering into a world too small to see, yet essential for life's history. Rocks themselves speak, if you know how to listen. Layers can tilt, fold, or compress, but the fossils within tell the same story they did millions of years ago. Scientists can read changes in climate, sea level, and environment. A layer with tropical plant fossils indicates a warm, humid past. Marine shells high in the mountains tell that oceans once covered that land. Fossils turn stone into a quiet storyteller. Every rock has its voice, even if it takes patience to hear. Some fossils are astonishingly detailed. Amber can trap insects perfectly, preserving wings, antennae, and tiny hairs. Petrified wood replaces soft tissues with minerals, turning trees into stone while keeping every ring visible. Each ring is a year in the tree's life, marking seasons, droughts, and floods. Fossils are not just memories. They are life frozen in time, giving scientists a direct connection to the past. Even the smallest creatures matter. Microfossils, invisible to the naked eye, reveal entire ocean ecosystems. Tiny shells, plankton, and bacteria can show changes in ocean chemistry, temperature, and currents. They are subtle, quiet clues, but powerful ones. Every layer they appear in tells a story of the world at that time, quietly waiting for someone to read it. Fossils can be found in surprising places. Deserts hold seashells, mountains hold ocean creatures, and cities sometimes reveal bones and plants buried under streets. The Earth doesn't care if humans notice. Time moves slowly, depositing, preserving, and transforming. Fossils are the memory that survives, patiently waiting for us to discover it. Some rocks hold multiple generations of life. A single stratum may capture a forest dying, soil forming, rivers shifting, and creatures moving across the land. In one layer, a fallen tree. In another, fish skeletons. Above that, ferns. Each tells a slightly different story, but together they are a timeline, a slow unfolding of history preserved in stone. Fossils allow us to step into the past gently. We don't see it alive, but we can imagine it. We can feel it if we look closely. The quietness of fossils is part of their power. Unlike sudden events, earthquakes, or eruptions, they are gentle reminders of life's passage. And events, earthquakes, or eruptions, they are gentle reminders of life's passage. They teach patience. They remind us that life and death, growth and decay, are part of a rhythm that moves slowly, like tides or seasons. Fossils capture that rhythm in a way that's calm and mesmerizing. Even extinction leaves a trace. Mass die-offs, like those that ended the dinosaurs, are recorded in thin layers of clay or limestone. They are stark, but quiet. Fossils in these layers show us the fragility and resilience of life. Some species vanish while others emerge, quietly filling the gaps. Rocks carry this memory without drama, teaching that time itself heals, rebuilds, and continues. Fossil fuels are another reminder of ancient life. Coal formed from swamps and forests long gone, while oil and natural gas come from microscopic plankton pressed into the earth over eons. Even these resources are records of slow processes. They tell of seas, lakes, forests, and the creatures that lived there. The planet remembers every leaf, every shell, every tiny organism, turning them into stone, oil, and gas over millions of years. Fossils also reveal behavior. Tracks in mud, feeding marks on shells, and burrows in sediment show interaction with the environment. Dinosaurs moving in herds, fish chasing prey, insects landing on leaves. These subtle traces give life to stone. The past is quiet, but it moves, showing patterns, routines, and daily rhythms of a world long gone. Fossils even connect continents. Similar species found in distant lands hint that oceans, mountains, and rivers were different in the past. Land masses that are separate today were once connected. Fossils quietly map ancient geography, helping scientists reconstruct Earth's ever-changing face. They are like puzzle pieces, waiting to be put together, one patient layer at a time. Even in fossils, you can sense seasons, tree rings, growth layers in shells, and coral bands record annual cycles. Dry years, wet years, hot summers, and cold winters, each recorded quietly, steadily, in stone. Fossils are not just evidence of life. They are calendars, diaries, and storybooks. They teach that time can be measured in quiet increments and still hold immense meaning. Fossils and rock layers remind us that Earth is always moving through time. Life emerges, thrives, fades, and leaves traces. Mountains rise and erode, oceans expand and retreat, yet these layers stay. They are the patient memory of everything that came before. We touch them, study them, and for a moment we connect with millions of years of quiet history. Even the act of discovering a fossil is gentle. Brushing away dirt, carefully prying rock, studying every detail. There is no rush. The process mirrors the slow passage of time the fossil itself has endured. Scientists become temporary companions of the past, listening to the planet's quiet story. Fossils are patience captured. They are memory made solid. They remind us that life, even when gone, leaves a legacy. They tell us that the Earth holds stories beyond human comprehension. Every layer, every imprint, every tiny detail is a whisper from the deep past. And if we listen closely, we can feel the slow rhythm of life, carried through stone, preserved for millions of years. Time, like fossils, moves quietly. It leaves evidence in layers, shapes, and textures. And through these ancient records, we glimpse a world that existed before us, a world that waited patiently, leaving messages in stone for anyone willing to notice. Fossils are the gentle, enduring heartbeat of the earth, a quiet song of life preserved forever. Beneath our feet, a secret world flows silently. Water seeps into cracks, slipping between stones like a quiet stream in the dark. No one sees it move, no one hears it rush, yet it shapes the earth in ways that take millions of years. Each drop carries minerals, slowly dissolving rock, carving paths, creating tunnels that twist and wind beneath the surface. Caves begin as tiny fractures. Water finds the weakest spots in rock. It slips inside, dropping, pooling, and soaking the stone. Slowly, imperceptibly, those cracks grow wider. Over centuries, small trickles become streams. Streams become rivers. The rock softens under their touch. Caverns form where walls were once solid. Stalactites hang like quiet icicles from ceilings. Stalagmites rise from the floors. Each takes its time, growing drop by drop. Nothing here hurries. Time moves differently underground. The minerals in water create subtle magic. Calcite, slowly dissolved from limestone, is deposited as tiny crystals. They build layers upon layers. Stalactites drip inch by inch. Stalagmites creep upward. Sometimes they meet, forming a column that reaches the ceiling. These shapes are elegant, delicate, and permanent. They record the passage of centuries, silent witnesses to the patient work of nature. Inside caves, the air is cool and still. Echoes are soft. Water dripping from above creates a rhythm, a quiet heartbeat in the darkness. Each drop is a tiny percussion, shaping the cave both literally and metaphorically. In some places, underground rivers rush with invisible strength, hidden beneath roofs of stone. Their movement is constant but gentle, carving tunnels, smoothing walls, and carrying sediments far away. Groundwater is everywhere, flowing slowly through pores in rock and soil. It doesn't announce itself. It slips quietly beneath mountains, through valleys, beneath deserts, beneath forests. This hidden network feeds springs, wells, and rivers. It carries nutrients and minerals from place to place, linking the surface with the deep subsurface. The water shapes the earth from below, unseen but unstoppable, a soft pulse beneath our feet. Caves are archives of time. Stalactites and stalagmites grow at rates often slower than a millimeter per year. Each layer of mineral is a quiet page in a diary of decades or centuries. Scientists can read these layers like rings in a tree, learning about rainfall, climate changes, and chemical shifts long before humans walked the planet. Each drip preserves a memory, a record of how the world above influenced the hidden world below. The formations inside caves are mesmerizing. Columns, curtains, and flowstones create natural sculptures. Light rarely enters these chambers, yet the shapes are intricate, delicate, and beautiful. Some formations twist in spirals, like frozen water spiraling downward. Others spread like curtains across walls, thin and fragile, catching the faintest hint of moisture. All are born of patience, shaped by unseen hands over millennia. Caves sometimes hold surprises beyond rock and water. Fossils, bones, and ancient footprints are preserved in dry chambers. They are quiet reminders that life above leaves traces below. Some caves preserve evidence of past climates. Stalactite layers record wet and dry seasons. Each growth ring is a memory, a subtle reminder of the slow march of time. Inside the quiet darkness, Earth keeps its diary. Rivers underground are different from those on the surface. They flow in darkness, their currents unseen but felt. They carry sediments, grind rock surfaces smooth, and deposit minerals elsewhere. The river's voice is soft, but it moves endlessly, never tiring, shaping passageways that humans may explore only centuries later. Some rivers are deep and slow, others fast and narrow. They are all part of a hidden plumbing system that connects the surface to the deep earth. Caves can be immense. Some chambers stretch for hundreds of meters, ceilings high above, floors deep below. Floors deep below. Stalactites hang from the ceilings like chandeliers in a grand, silent cathedral. Stalagmites rise from the floor, reaching upward like supplicants toward a distant light. The scale is humbling, the atmosphere calm and meditative. Here, the world slows down. Every drip, every mineral deposit, every echo of movement is amplified by patience. Groundwater shapes not just caves, but landscapes. Springs form where underground water finds a way out. Rivers begin as drops seeping through rock. Wetlands emerge where water accumulates below the surface. Each interaction is subtle, nothing rushes. The planet breathes quietly through these hidden channels, carrying life and minerals, sustaining ecosystems above. Even the smallest spring is a testament to the power of unseen slow motion. Some caves are alive in more ways than one. Microorganisms thrive in total darkness, feeding on minerals or tiny organic particles carried in by water. They are part of an ecosystem completely detached from sunlight. The process is silent, invisible, but life continues. It reminds us that even in darkness, Earth has ways of sustaining living things. Life adapts, quietly and patiently, in the deepest hollows. The sounds in caves are soft but mesmerizing. Drips from stalactites, the gentle flow of underground rivers, the echo of distant movements. Silence is never complete. There is a rhythm to the darkness, a pulse that matches the slow heartbeat of the planet. Walking through such spaces, one feels time differently. Minutes stretch, thoughts calm. The earth seems to breathe in sync with you, quietly and eternally. Caves record climate too. Variations in mineral deposition reflect droughts, floods, and seasonal changes over centuries. Scientists studying these layers can reconstruct past rainfall, temperature, and even the chemical composition of ancient air. Each drip of mineral water captures the environment above, locking it in rock. Caves are quiet laboratories where time and water collaborate, preserving history silently. Some caves are sculpted by more than just water. Ice, wind, and chemical reactions add layers of artistry. Ice caves grow and melt with seasons. Sulfur-rich vents create unusual deposits. Slow chemical reactions color the walls in reds, yellows, and browns. Even subtle mineral streaks are significant, each telling a story of the processes acting quietly over millennia. Humans exploring caves are visitors to a patient world. Each footstep is careful, each touch considered. The formations have endured far longer than any of us. To be inside a cave is to witness the quiet persistence of nature. Time slows, the mind relaxes. Every drip, every echo, every shadow reminds us of Earth's slow, deliberate work. Water underground reminds us that patience is powerful. It wears stone down, drop by drop, slowly shaping chambers and tunnels that outlast generations. Life depends on it, even in unseen ways. The hidden currents carry nutrients, sustain ecosystems, and sculpt the very rock beneath our feet. Underground, the planet whispers, and we learn to listen. Even after millions of years, caves continue to grow. Stalactites drip, stalagmites rise, flowstones spread, columns reach for the ceiling. The work is quiet, relentless, and beautiful. Nothing is forced. Every formation is the result of slow, patient persistence. Underground, Earth teaches us about time, patience, and calm. The next time you walk on a rocky hillside or through a forest, imagine the hidden world below, streams slipping silently through stone, mineral-rich water-carving tunnels, caves forming drop by drop. Life is supported above and below. The earth is always working, even when no one watches. The hidden waters move, the mineral deposits grow, and the planet continues its quiet, slow rhythm. Underground systems remind us that the earth never stops shaping itself. Water, stone, minerals, and time collaborate in perfect silence. Every drop contributes to a slow masterpiece. Caverns grow, stalactites hang, stalactites hang, stalactites hang. Rivers flow unseen. Life survives. History is preserved. The planet moves steadily, patiently beneath our feet, in a rhythm that never hurries, never tires, and never ceases. Deserts stretch endlessly under pale sunlight. Sand drifts like water, shifting silently over dunes. The ground cracks and hardens, storing the heat of countless days. Winds sweep over these open spaces, sculpting ridges and ripples in the sand, but they do so slowly, almost lazily, as if the land itself is breathing. Rocks baked by the sun hold memories of long-vanished rivers. Mineral layers shine faintly, catching the light like quiet signals of ancient times. Deserts may seem empty, but they are full of hidden stories, etched in stone and sand, waiting for patience to notice. In these arid lands, mountains can rise starkly from flat plains, black or red against pale horizons. They are ancient and still, their jagged peaks untouched by sudden forces. The colors of desert stone tell stories of chemical changes over eons. Iron stains leave rust-colored streaks. Layers of sediment whisper about times when water existed here, when life moved differently. Cracks in rock are like veins of history, quietly mapping the slow aging of the earth. Even in seeming barrenness, the desert is alive in ways subtle and unhurried. Dunes themselves are gentle sculptures. Wind lifts grains, carries them across the plain, and deposits them with care. Over centuries, the dunes shift miles from where they began. Their curves are soft, flowing, almost hypnotic. Walking across a dune feels like moving through a landscape that is breathing in rhythm with the wind. Sunlight plays across the slopes, creating shadows that change slowly, like liquid patterns frozen in time. The desert shows us that even in extreme heat and dryness, the planet creates beauty quietly and deliberately. Glaciers are different, yet their patience is equally profound. Massive rivers of ice creep downhill at rates almost imperceptible. They grind rock beneath their weight, slowly polishing valleys into smooth, U-shaped corridors. The ice moves like a slumbering giant, silent and unstoppable. Cracks and crevasses open and close, reflecting stresses that have built over decades. Meltwater streams run beneath the ice, lubricating its slide and feeding rivers far from the frozen heights. Mountains tower beside glaciers, their peaks cold and solemn, watching as ice reshapes the land in slow motion. The surfaces of glaciers are a calm mosaic of blues and whites. Snow layers compact over centuries, forming dense ice with trapped bubbles of ancient air. Each layer is a record of past winters, of storms and calms, of climates long before humans. Walking on a glacier is like stepping on the slow heartbeat of the planet. Ice flows and folds, bends and creaks, yet it moves with the patience of ages. Even when it calms to a frozen stillness, it is alive, reshaping the landscape gently, persistently. Glacial valleys reveal their quiet power. Rocks carried along by ice scrape and carve the bed beneath. Moraines pile up, subtle ridges marking the furthest reach of ancient flows. Lakes can form in depressions left behind, calm and reflective, holding the sky and mountains above. Ice retreats, leaving behind polished stone and scattered debris. Life slowly returns, lichens, mosses, and eventually trees. Every change is gradual, a whisper of time. Glaciers teach that even the heaviest, coldest forces can move with serenity, reshaping the earth with patience rather than haste. Deserts and glaciers, though opposites in temperature, share a quiet rhythm. Each creates unique geology. Each shapes life in its own measured way. Deserts build dunes, salt flats, and rocky plateaus. Glaciers carve valleys, deposit moraine, and polish mountains. Brozards, Ryko. The extremes of hot and cold remind us that Earth's landscapes are not uniform, but a patchwork of slow transformations. Every region has its own tempo, its own language of rock, ice, and sand. Volcanic deserts offer yet another story. Black lava plains stretch across vast spaces, cooled from fire into smooth, glassy layers. Basalt columns rise like silent towers, their geometric faces catching the fading sun. Cracks in the lava form labyrinths for tiny plants or animals seeking shelter. Heat lingers in stones long after the eruption, fading slowly over centuries. The land seems to breathe even when dormant, as if waiting for the next gentle change. Glacial ice also creates dramatic landforms beneath the surface. Fjords stretch into oceans, deep channels carved by slow ice movement, hanging valleys perch above main glacial paths, waterfalls spilling delicately into deep waters. These features feel timeless, their scale is humbling. Standing at the edge of a fjord, you sense the quiet patience of glaciers, the slow crafting of a landscape that no single life could witness fully. The work of ice is slow, but it is monumental. Salt flats in deserts add another layer of wonder. Wide, reflective surfaces stretch under a hot sky, shining like mirrors. Minerals crystallize slowly, forming patterns that shift with rain and evaporation. Water appears briefly, then vanishes, leaving delicate textures behind. Salt ridges and polygonal cracks tell of cycles of flooding and drying. This is a world of stillness, a reminder that even in extreme dryness, geology records time in silent, shimmering beauty. Glaciers and deserts also host hidden life. In deserts, hardy plants and animals cling to scarce water, thriving against the odds. In ice, microorganisms survive in liquid pockets, feeding on minerals or trapped nutrients. These ecosystems remind us that Earth adapts. Life moves quietly alongside geology. Survival doesn't need loud drama. Patience and subtle change are enough. Mountain deserts create dramatic contrasts. Sharp ridges rise above sand plains. Wind carves cliffs and canyons with a gentle but steady hand. Shadows stretch across the land as the sun moves, shifting slowly through the sky. Every angle, every curve, tells a story of heat, dryness, and ancient movement. The colors change with light, from gold to rust, from deep brown to pale beige. These landscapes invite quiet reflection, a slow observation of time made visible in rock and sand. Glacial rivers feed oceans silently. Meltwater carries sediments far from ice, feeding estuaries and deltas. The water is cold, pure, and patient. Each drop has traveled from high mountains, from frozen heights, to join the larger cycles of water that touch all landscapes. Glaciers and deserts are connected through water, wind, and sediment, all working slowly to shape the world. Extreme landscapes teach calmness. Heat, cold, and wind operate over millennia, not minutes. The planet does not hurry. It breathes, it shapes, it creates beauty without urgency. Observing deserts and glaciers, we learn patience from rocks, ice, and sand. The rhythms are slow but persistent, like a heartbeat beneath the surface of our daily lives. Even the smallest dunes, the tiniest ice crevasse, are part of a much larger story. Layers accumulate, shapes evolve, shadows shift, colors change with light. Every detail, however minor, contributes to the quiet geometry of the land. Earth is never still, yet its motion is often so slow that it feels like stillness. Extreme landscapes show us this truth plainly. Change can be gentle and breathtaking at the same time. Looking at deserts, glaciers, and the world's extreme places, we see Earth's patient creativity. Life adapts. Minerals accumulate. Ice carves, sand drifts, salt crystallizes, rocks age, mountains persist. The world unfolds in slow, mesmerizing rhythm. We feel time differently. Each landscape is a chapter in a story written without sound, without hurry, yet full of life and motion. Beneath our feet, the earth quietly makes treasures. Metals, gems, and minerals are born deep underground, where heat, pressure, and time work together like slow, careful artists. Copper, gold, silver, iron, all of them begin as tiny changes in molten rock or slowly cooled magma. They formed veins and pockets, hidden for millions of years, waiting for the world above to notice. Each nugget or crystal is a story of patience, a record of the planet's long, quiet work. Some minerals sparkle like secrets in the dark. Gemstones are formed from heat and pressure that squeeze ordinary rock into extraordinary beauty. Diamonds grow slowly, layer by layer, buried far beneath the crust, invisible to anyone walking on the surface. Emeralds, sapphires, and rubies are made when chemical elements meet in just the right way, crystallizing over countless years. Holding a gemstone feels like holding a memory from the deep past, a piece of the Earth's own diary, polished by time and patience. Metals tell a different story. Iron seeps from magma, sinking into veins and spreading into layers of ore. Gold drifts and cracks, shimmering faintly in rock, waiting to be discovered. Humans dig carefully to reach these gifts, not always noticing how slow and gentle the earth was in making them. Mines are quiet tunnels where sunlight rarely reaches, yet the walls glimmer with ancient chemistry. Each rock chipped away uncovers a hidden history, and each ore extracted connects us to processes older than any civilization. The formation of these materials is not sudden or explosive. It is subtle. It is the result of deep, steady heat moving through the crust, dissolving and concentrating minerals over eons. Water moves through cracks, carrying tiny traces of metal and depositing them slowly in pockets. Pressure from mountains above compacts the rock, forcing minerals into new arrangements. Magma rises but cools gently, allowing crystals to grow in perfect symmetry. The earth does not rush. It does not demand attention. Its gifts appear quietly, ready for those who are patient enough to seek them. Gemstones carry color like whispers. Emeralds hold the deep green like a forest paused in time. Sapphires can be the calm blue of twilight oceans. Rubies glow faintly, red as a fading sunset. Each color is a chemical fingerprint, a gentle signature of the elements and conditions that shaped it. No two crystals are exactly alike, and each one tells a story of the Earth's mood at the time of its birth. Sometimes, flaws within a gem are like tiny echoes of movement, small cracks or inclusions reminding us that perfection is a long process of patience and pressure. Human hands have always sought these treasures. Early miners noticed shiny streaks in riverbeds or glittering veins in rock. They dug, panned, and chipped, guided more by curiosity than urgency. Even now, mining can be a quiet, deliberate act, uncovering what the earth has labored over for millions of years. Every nugget of gold or vein of copper extracted carries with it the calm, steady work of the planet. It is a gift that took patience, and in return, humans learned to appreciate the slow rhythms of geology. Even everyday metals have stories of deep formation. Aluminum, used in cans and airplanes, was squeezed and heated in ways invisible to the eye for millions of years. Iron and nickel formed deep in the Earth's mantle, rising slowly to the crust. Metals are concentrated in pockets where molten rock cooled just right, where chemical reactions were perfectly balanced. The process is not dramatic, but enduring. It reminds us that the Earth's most valuable creations are often hidden, growing quietly while the world above moves at its own pace. Some minerals are soft, others hard. Some shimmer like tiny stars, others hold dull, subtle tones. Quartz can be almost invisible, a pale crystal in rock, yet it forms the backbone of many mountains and sand beaches. Copper glows faintly green when it reacts with air over centuries, like the slow aging of an old coin. Even the dullest stone has a story to tell. Geology teaches that value is not always in flash or loudness, but in longevity and the patient shaping of materials. Mining, in its gentler moments, is almost like storytelling. Each shaft or trench is a line in a book of Earth's memory. The rock chipped away reveals layers upon layers of history. Every fragment of ore or gemstone is evidence of heat, pressure, and slow chemical dance. Sometimes humans stumble upon a vein unexpectedly, as if the Earth decided to share a secret. Other times, exploration takes decades, uncovering the full story grain by grain, layer by layer. Even water plays a role in these gifts. Hydrothermal fluids flow quietly through cracks, carrying dissolved metals. They seep through stone, cool slowly, and leave behind concentrated deposits. These fluids can form large pockets of ore or delicate layers of crystal. The Earth's plumbing system, invisible beneath our feet, works with patience and precision, distributing minerals over millennia. Without this quiet movement, metals and gems would never find their homes in rock where humans could discover them. Some gems and metals are rare, others more common, but all reflect the same principle: slow creation over immense time. A single crystal might take millions of years to grow, its edges perfect and its interior flawless. A vein of copper might concentrate over ages, forming a small river of metal hidden inside rock. Patience is key. The Earth does not hurry, and its processes are designed to endure, not impress. The result is beauty and utility woven together, patiently waiting for someone to notice. Even when humans polish or melt these materials, the story does not end. Gold can be shaped into rings, copper into wires, yet the origin remains underground, deep and slow. Gems can be cut and set, but their colors, inclusions, and shapes speak of a history older than our understanding. Holding a mineral, a gem, or a metal is a quiet connection to time itself, a reminder that even in a noisy world, some of Earth's most important work happens silently. We often walk over treasures without noticing. Gravel on a path may carry iron, quartz, or mica. Stones in rivers reflect light in subtle ways because of minerals deep underground. Even the sand between toes might be tiny grains of broken crystals, traces of the planet's patient crafting. Earth spreads its gifts widely, not always in obvious piles, but in countless tiny pieces, each with its own story. The calm of geology is reflected in how these materials form. There is no rush. Crystals grow, metals settle, minerals concentrate. The processes take millions of years. The planet's heartbeat is slow but steady. By studying ores, gemstones, and metals, humans learn the quiet rhythm of Earth. We see that value is often hidden, patience is necessary, and the most beautiful creations take the longest to form. Even now, new deposits form quietly. Deep in the crust, heat flows, pressure moves, water carries minerals, tiny crystals grow, metals settle in veins, gems begin to shimmer. The planet continues to create, slowly, deliberately, without fanfare. Humans can dig, explore, and extract, but the work beneath our feet never stops. Minerals, metals, and gems are more than just resources. They are the Earth's way of telling its story in quiet, tangible forms. They are proof that the planet works on timescales far longer than our own. Every nugget, every crystal, every vein is a message from the deep, a gift from a world moving patiently, shaping beauty from heat, pressure, and quiet chemistry. Observing them, holding them, even just thinking about them connects us to the slow pulse of our planet. And so, as we consider metals, ores, and gems, let your mind drift with the patience of Earth itself. Imagine the heat below, the pressure above, the water flowing silently. Picture crystals forming, metals settling, colors appearing slowly over eons. Let that rhythm slow your thoughts. Feel the calm persistence of the planet and the quiet treasures it shares with anyone patient enough to notice. As we settle into this quiet journey, let's drift back and take in the full story of our planet. Imagine Earth from above, not as a place of chaos or hurry, but as a living, breathing world moving slowly through time. Continents shift at the pace of a slow dance. Oceans widen imperceptibly. Mountains rise grain by grain. The planet doesn't rush. It never has. Its heartbeat is measured in millions of years, and yet every movement shapes the landscapes we call home. Even now, the continents are drifting. North America slides toward the Pacific, Africa inches northward, and Asia slowly collides with India, raising the Himalayas higher, almost imperceptibly, each year. Oceans stretch wider, deep currents swirl, and the crust shifts quietly beneath our feet. If you could stand on a ridge or a beach tonight, the ground beneath you would be moving ever so slightly, carrying you along on this timeless journey. Earth's climate shifts with gentle inevitability. Ice ages come and go. Glaciers creep down valleys, then retreat, carving landscapes in soft, patient strokes. Deserts expand, shrink, and shift, painting the land with sand and stone over eons. Rain falls in endless cycles, rivers carve paths to the sea, and wind sculpts dunes and cliffs. Even the tiniest grains of sand have stories older than any human life, shaped by storms and seasons long forgotten. All of it, slow and subtle, reminds us that change is constant, even when it whispers rather than shouts. Beneath the surface, the molten heart of Earth keeps moving. Magma flows, minerals form, crystals grow, and metals concentrate. Mountains are born and erode, valleys deepen. Rocks remember pressure and heat, storing secrets of the past, carrying quiet records of events no human could witness. And while humans live short lives in comparison, we are connected to all of it. Every pebble, every grain of sand, every glimmering crystal is part of the same ongoing story that started long before us and will continue long after. The oceans themselves are part of this slow story. Currents move with patient rhythm, tides rise and fall in response to the moon's gentle tug, and the seafloor spreads slowly from ridges deep beneath the waves. Hydrothermal vents pulse quietly, building chimneys, supporting life that doesn't even rely on the sun. Coral reefs grow upward, layer by layer, recording temperature, chemistry, and time. Even the deepest trenches are alive in their own quiet way, reminding us that life and Earth itself thrives in subtle balance. As we look toward the future, imagine the Earth 100 million years from now. Continents will drift into new formations, oceans will shrink or grow, mountains will rise, then erode back to low hills, deserts will migrate, and glaciers will advance and retreat. Volcanoes will form islands, and rivers will carve new valleys. All of it, as always, slow and steady, a gentle reshaping of the world we know. The story never ends. It only continues, quietly, beneath clouds, wind, and stars. Even humans are part of this slow motion. Cities may rise and fall, forests may grow and recede, and our footprints will eventually fade. The Earth will continue its work, patiently crafting rocks, minerals, and landscapes indifferent to the passing of centuries. And yet, through observing it, through walking, touching, and listening, we connect to that deep pulse. We become part of the planet's story, even if only for a moment, even if only in awareness. Think about the tiny dust drifting from deserts to rainforests, nourishing life across continents. Think about stars' remnants embedded in rocks beneath your feet. Imagine meteorites striking quietly over eons, leaving hidden scars that tell stories of cosmic chaos and calm. Every process, from the microscopic to the continental, is a testament to patience, persistence, and quiet transformation. Life and geology are entwined, a slow dance of creation, destruction, and renewal. Even the magnetic field drifts and flips over thousands of years. North and south wander. Poles reverse, yet life persists. Oceans rise and fall. Ice sheets expand and shrink. Through all of it, Earth remains a stable home for life because its processes are slow, consistent, and balanced over unimaginable spans of time. Observing this, we can almost hear the soft heartbeat of the planet, the rhythm that has never stopped and never will. We can also imagine the deep future, where humans may no longer walk these lands. Yet the mountains, oceans, deserts, and forests will continue, forming new paths, new shapes, new stories. The earth doesn't hurry to finish its work. It doesn't demand recognition. Its changes are slow, deliberate, and endlessly patient. That is the comfort in thinking about geology. It reminds us that even in the face of change, there is consistency, there is rhythm, and there is calm. The beauty of geology is that it invites us to slow down, too, to notice layers of rock in a cliff face, to marvel at the colors of a crystal, to feel the sand beneath our feet, to imagine mountains growing invisibly over millennia. It shows us that nothing truly disappears, it only transforms. Lava becomes rock, sediment becomes stone, dust becomes soil, and even life itself emerges from these processes. The cycle is ongoing, serene, and unending. As you drift toward sleep, imagine yourself floating above Earth, looking down at continents sliding like sleepy giants across the oceans. Picture rivers carving valleys, glaciers slowly sculpting mountains, and wind painting the deserts. Feel the steady pulse of magma deep beneath the crust, minerals forming quietly and crystals growing layer by layer. The world is alive, but it whispers instead of shouts. Its changes are patient and gentle, and its stories are older than time itself. Let your thoughts rest on this vast, calm rhythm. You are part of the story, even in your quietest moments. Every breath, every heartbeat, every movement is mirrored in the slow processes of the earth. Imagine that connection and let it soothe your mind. You are a brief flicker in a world that has never stopped moving, shaping, remembering, and creating. There is peace in knowing that change can be slow, that beauty can emerge quietly, and that the earth holds patience beyond imagining. And so, as we end this journey through the deep, slow, and calming story of our planet, I invite you to carry a little of this calm with you. Think of rocks as storytellers, mountains as gentle giants, and oceans as timeless mirrors of motion. Let this slow pulse guide your thoughts, calm your mind, and ease you into rest. If you've enjoyed this quiet journey, take a moment to like and subscribe. It helps others find their way here, too, to the gentle stories of our planet. One sleepy soul at a time. Now, take a deep breath. Feel the earth beneath you, ancient and steady. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let the quiet rhythm of the planet cradle your thoughts. The world is patient. You are safe. Sleep well, and good night.